For the Christian faithful, it is Good Friday, and the world in general cannot wait for some good news in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. There's an intensive foray into medical research to arrest this ravaging disease, and collaborative efforts amongst nations to reach out to the most vulnerable, share ideas and data about the successful practices that may have slowed down the rate of the contagion in some climes. The truth, however, is that man's advancement in science and technology, his assumed mastery of the planet, have been severely tested by COVID-19's rude entry, with little signs of the tide turning anytime soon. Today, on Political Update, we will examine the call to service, especially those on the front lines in the efforts at containment and those who just have no choice but to stay on at their duty posts. Also, we will check out the efforts at sensitization, especially at the grassroots level, and methods adopted in some states to ensure little or minimal exposure to possible cases at this stage. I am Fisayo Ogunfoye. Welcome. With the lockdown and restrictions of social gatherings in many states of the Federation, this year's Easter celebration will be somewhat commemorated in an unusual fashion. However, a cross-section of Christian leaders have advised the faithful on fully complying with the efforts to contain the coronavirus pandemic.
This period has coincided with Easter. Under normal circumstances, we would have loved everybody to gather in the church to celebrate, and I still really wish that it was possible. But then we have to see the other side of what the government is saying. What is the need for us to gather and then some people get infected if we are not able to control it? I therefore understand what the government is saying. We will encourage them to pray at home. God will hear us. I believe help is nearby by the grace of God, and not too long we will converge again. I think when we now begin to converge, we will appreciate more that God has been giving us the opportunity to converge, because we took it for granted before, as if nothing can stop us from converging. But now we can see that it is a privilege to be able to gather in the house of God.
Easter depicts victory over death. Easter depicts victory over sorrow. Easter depicts victory over COVID-19 and everything disease. And so Jesus came at this particular time in history, and he conquered death. He conquered diseases. And so all Christians, wherever you may be, at home, wherever you are, it's not all about the physical building. But let's use this time around to ponder on how Christ conquered death. And so because he conquered death, and coincidentally, this COVID-19 lockdown has come on our Easter celebration Sunday, a time we should be celebrating as Christians and even non-Christians alike. But what do? Make some introspective gains of what Jesus came to conquer, which is death and even COVID-19. And so we shouldn't be despaired. We should be very optimistic, never pessimistic.
It's unfortunate that we have this pandemic ravaging the entire globe at such a time as this. Well, we didn't expect it, but here it is. We need to brace up and live up to the challenges it has posed to us as a people. In Nigeria, it is obvious that yes, this pandemic is really not having effect like it does have, in other parts of the globe. However, we must be able to take advantage of the very important strata of the society, which is the students. You look at what is happening in the United States of America, in UK, you see the university environment still open to research and, of course, contribution to the development of society. Johns Hopkins University in the United States of America is an example of this. The advocacy they have been able to do, the research they've been able to conduct, has shown clearly well that yes, the university community is very important.
Meanwhile, 33 inmates have regained their freedom at the Kuje Custodial Center in Abuja. Victor Azu reports that some of the beneficiaries of government's efforts to decongest the custodial centers.
Once jailbirds, now free to pursue new beginnings for the remaining part of their lives. This is the story of 33 inmates of the Kuje Custodial Center, beneficiaries of the presidential amnesty designed to decongest the custodial centers. Some were freed on age grounds, some for health issues, and some were long-term awaiting trial inmates. Others have almost completed their jail terms, while some jailed for minor offenses also regained freedom.
I have been praying to God that God should do something that will make the federal government to remember the inmate, to remember me in prison. And God have done it.
In all, 2,600 inmates are expected to be released across the nation in this phase alone, 70 in one day. As the Chief Judge of the FCT signs their release warrant, the inmates also had the privilege of wise counsel from the dignitaries and some startup cash from a philanthropist.
Don't come back. Don't come back. Find a way of a means of living. You must reinvent yourselves. You must believe in yourselves.
I implore you to exhibit greater conduct, to invite the spirit of forgiveness.
Earlier, the Minister of Interior announced posthumous pardon for late elder statesmen Anthony Nahoro and Professor Ambrose Ali, among others.
5 ex-convicts recommended for presidential pardon have been so pardoned by the president. They are late Professor Ambrose Ali and late Chief Anthony Nahoro, ex-Lieutenant Colonel Moses Effiong, Major E.J. Olarewaju, and Ajayi Olusola Babalola.
The congestion of custodial centers is an annual event, but the rampaging COVID-19 has had a say in this one, both in terms of numbers and speed. And as the nation continues to groan under the affliction of the coronavirus, these ones will be thanking God for the intervention of COVID-19 in their matter. From the jail outskirts of the FCT, Victor Azu.
Thank you, Victor. Perhaps that's the good part of the whole problem of the pandemic for some who have had their prayers answered out there, the Kuje Custodial Centers and some others across the country. Now moving on to the economy. The oil market in just over 1 month has changed beyond expectation. The supply and demand fundamentals. Secretary General of OPEC, Mohamed Sanusi Berkindo, said it's already fine with the expected excess supply volumes on the market. Let's hear the rest of this report from Lydia Sampson.
The meeting is being held via a web-based seminar in view of developments surrounding COVID-19 pandemic, and countries are joining from their respective countries. OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Sanusi Berkindo lamented that the global oil market is already seeing some production shut-ins, companies filing for bankruptcy, and tens of thousands of jobs being lost. Berkindo described the scenario as unprecedented in modern times. The outlook for non-OPEC supply growth in 2020 has also fallen by over 1.5 million barrels per day, although this is nowhere near the drop in oil demand. Due to COVID-19, OPEC Secretary General said oil market is seeing significant less revenue coming into treasuries, which evidently has major consequences, and the limits of the market is being tested on many fronts. The industry, he said, is likely to see further breaches in logistical capacity for ships, pipelines, terminals, and processing units, and it is clear that available storage capacity is quickly filling up. Berkindo lamented the grisly shadow hanging over all, stressing that the market must not allow the shadow to envelop it. He called on oil producers to look at the market outlook and stand shoulder to shoulder to help the vital global industry survive. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now, joining us today on Political Update is the Director General of the National Film and Video Censors Board, Alhaji Adedayo Thomas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me start by, reports we had earlier in the week. you and your colleague from the National Directorate of Employment donated your salaries to feeding law enforcement agents at this time. Give us a recap of what happened earlier in the week.
You see, as the CEO, some of us asked to be the office and do some skeletal job, and again wait for any call that we might be drafted into any field. Within the period, each time we go in and out, we review what happened on the road and things like that. Within the streets, we encourage people to at least help their neighbors, which is, of course, is more of African, is more of Nigeria. But then there are essential staffs on the road who nobody bothers to look into what happened to them. And you could see the pain, despite that they are still there in the morning, afternoon, night, maintaining the new lockdown law, and as well keeping the peace in the society. We all sleep and we snore. People are on the road in the sun and things like that. So we decided, what can we do? It's not within our mandate, since we're not in the humanitarian service. It's not within our mandate. So the best we could do is, well, like the African adage said, help your neighbor or love your neighbor as you love yourself. So we decided to pull our, and luckily for us, and in fact, since I've been in the public service, we receive our salary as and when due. We don't receive salary on the 30, by 26, 27, 20. If you're a federal worker, you receive your salary. So we said, well, since you are in Abuja, I'm in here too, we pull the resources, we pull our salary together, total package, not only salaries and allowances, so that we'll target to our 500 essential workers on the road. And that was exactly what we did. So we went on the road and we met essential workers, police, VIO, road safety, and those who are even assisting them, in getting one or two things should they need water. And we decided to buy rice, semovita, salt, Maggi, and vegetable oil.
Did someone cook, or you gave them raw?
No, we gave them raw so that they can send home. They are on duty. If they find an opportunity, they will equally be able to send to their wife and children, or husband and children at home.
When you went around, what was the compliance level like, and then the enforcement as well? Were they cordial?
At times I wonder where some social media clips comes in that said, oh, this is brutalization or whatsoever. The compliance quite, because we started from the police headquarters, moving to area 7, Express, Gwagwalada, Gwaripa, and Kuje side, Kubwa side. And the compliance was fantastic, even some of us that are doing that. You see the way the police, VIO, and all of that, civil defense, and other essential staffs coordinate the movement, ask of our certificate, ID card, and you see, they make sure those who are passing the road, and for some who don't have any reasons, the way they turn them back, you'll be surprised that it's quite civil and very impressive.
Well, there was a sad commentary earlier over the weekend, and some performing arts actors and all that, violating the lockdown. Some of the information that was gleaned in the social media eventually became a case for litigation and all that. Are you doing some messaging to people that you supervise in terms of content, that apart from content development, actions could also regrettably, have some, negative impact on society as well at this unusual time?
We did that a lot. The National Film and Video Censors Board is very close to the stakeholders this time around since I came. So we do a lot of collaborative work, up to a point that it was this period too that we were able to package some advert that has the kids sending out messages that people shouldn't be play ball and things like that. So we gave a lot of information, but what happened at the weekend was just unfortunate, and of course unfortunate to happen to one of our biggest hands in the industry. Although it could be an emotional thing, an opinion, But then the Lord has to take his cause and effect. But then after it, we're still going to find a way of pleading. If she has had a bad records before, it will have been different thing entirely. But we're still going to see what we can do so that she can equally be pardoned as well. It's a sad event. A lot of them are not doing it. We spoke to ourselves, and we should look into the general stakeholders, what they are doing, and the assistance they are equally doing within their own environment. If I start mentioning names, I can mention 50 to 100 actors and actresses that are doing, enlightenment programs within their own streets and, curbing people, because they're all role models. It's unfortunate one or two things happen like that, but we thank God it didn't escalate.
Now, in terms of you being a chief executive, this lockdown has affected, of course, the usual operations, but what are you, how have you been able to at least get some skeletal work across the table?
The couple of things, files on ground, like promotion exam, compilation, and things like that. So myself and like about 3 directors resume, and we're able to tidy up a lot of file issues with social distance, everybody be in their offices and things like that. So we're doing that, and we're trying to fashion out past government information, summarize it. You see our minister always everywhere get information from him and send to stakeholders so that you could reach them quickly.
All right, we'll take a pause from this discussion and take a few other reports. The federal government says it will keep collaborating with other tiers of government in its quest to contain COVID-19 in Nigeria. Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, George Akume, while inspecting some relief materials for distribution by the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, emphasized that collective responsibility is crucial in fighting the pandemic. Mitari Ikpen was there and filed this report.
Nigeria has been active in containing the coronavirus pandemic. The Presidential Task Force has been engaging various stakeholders to curb the spread of the pandemic, and series of donations have come from corporate bodies and individuals to complement the federal government's drive. Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, George Akume, says the federal government stands together with all tiers of government to defeat the virus.
I thank ALGON for this wonderful intervention. Working collectively, awareness on the side, on the part of all of us, these things will continue to flow to where they're intended to be used.
What we have in the cartons is rice, spaghetti, Maggi, and cooking oil. We have around 2,000 cartons, and we distribute them to the different parts of the country.
Besides commending ALGON for the initiative, the minister enjoined all Nigerians to continually adhere to all safety tips released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. In Abuja, Mitari Ikpen, NTA News.
You're still watching political updates on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have the Director General of the Film, Video and Censors Board right here with us. We're talking about Ajadi Dio Thomas. Now, physically we are not seeing the hardware or the materials for films at this moment to be censored, but we are seeing a lot on the internet, via social media, YouTube and all that, products coming as a result of our unusual times, COVID-19 messaging and all that. But not all this information could be relied upon. Is there any way that this could be checked in terms of information sharing amongst the people you supervise, so that while they will not do more harm than good?
You see, bearing in fact that in the film industry and in the generally in the information and culture ministry, there are a couple of parastatals who equally rely on information from the head, from the ministry, then disseminate it. We're equally doing that, we're collaborating. The only thing we can always do in terms of that is we should be ahead, we are always ahead of those false information that will cause more harms or whatsoever. So what we do when we see that, we try as much as possible to trace whoever send that into the platforms, wherever platforms together, and we try as much as possible to let people stop sharing it and give them the right information.
Not to induce panic.
Or not to induce panic. Those are kind of things. That's why even as we sit, as my staff sit at home, they are monitoring all the films that is being shown in all the networks, so that they'll be able to sieve out those that are censored and those who are not censored. And we're in good hands with the communication industry and other platforms to make sure that they don't censor any film, that they don't show any film that is not censored now, because we are not at work and a couple of things might get to their hand and they might find it censored, so they still need to confirm from us. So we still do skeleton service so that people are not fed with stories that are not true and cause a lot of havoc.
And funny enough, this is the period where a lot of people rely so much on content now. You can't go out, so it's just wait and watch. All right, the federal government has promised to take more decisive and proactive measures to tackle Boko Haram. This was when the president had a meeting with Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Zulum. Let's hear the rest of this report from our State House correspondent Adamu Sambo.
Governor Babagana Umar Zulum was in the State House to brief the president on the recent military action against Boko Haram by Chad Republic on the shores of Lake Chad and its implications on Nigeria's national security. Chad was responding to the killing of nearly 100 of his soldiers by the insurgents. President Muhammadu Buhari and Governor Zulum, after critically analyzing the situation, expressed the belief that time has come to once and for all put to an end the senseless acts of terror by Boko Haram and other criminal elements operating in the region.
Honestly speaking, we are apprehensive because of the ongoing operations by the Chadians. Right now, most of the Boko Haram are fleeing the shores of the Lake Chad, the areas of the Chad Republic, and they are now coming to the northern Borno State and then to southern Borno State. And there's need for us to now provide some counter-insurgency attacks.
So what did the president tell you?
This is the right time that the government of Nigeria, under his leadership, will do everything possible to support the MNJTF and others to be proactive enough to contain the situation, to deal with them decisively with a view to ending the crisis, so that they shouldn't occupy some other areas in the northern states as well as in the Sambisa Reserve.
The governor of Borno State also briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on his administration's efforts at containing the coronavirus pandemic.
My deputy governor, who is the chairman of the coronavirus pandemic committee, is doing very well. We have stopped vehicular movement into Maiduguri, but passengers are good, unless if and only if such movements are very necessary. Our indigents coming from abroad, we stop them from coming, and if they must come, I think we are taking them straight to the isolation centers. We have huge number of IDP camps. We have taken some measures, including frequent checkings and then testings and so on.
So far, Borno State has not recorded any case of COVID-19. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
All right, Governor of Borno State there, combating insurgents at the same time preparing for possible cases of the pandemic. Many thanks to the Director General of National Film and Video Censors Board for coming. Any final words before we go?
It's just to encourage the essential workers to keep on. We should have them in prayer. We should do our best. It's not government alone. We have to do our best within our society, within the streets, to make sure that we drive this away. And
perhaps we'll now do a movie about how we actually defeated coronavirus.
Definitely.
Thank you. That's been Political Update for today. Thanks for watching the Nigerian Television Authority, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. My name is Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Thanking you for staying tuned. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye now.
virus wey the nickname na COVID-19. It not be big man who sickness, so if it catch anybody, according to World Health Organization,